Hey everybody, so I'm under this pretty ginormous rock, and I just want to again highlight, sometimes it's like there's such a great message with just the visual. Right now this rock is serving as a covering. Right now it's a beautiful day, but just by getting under this rock I can get out of the sun, or at least pivot to get my face out of the sunlight and to be under the protection of the rock. If it was raining, the rock would provide that structure and again covering so that I wouldn't get 100% wet, because the rock would be covering my head from getting wet. Now if I look to the side, again there's an open space here. I look to the side, there's an open space here, but for right here, I'm talking about there's this big structure and there's a rock and there's a covering. So now I'm going to back up so that you can get to see the magnitude of that rock. I mean, again, perspective, like that's a huge rock. How it got there, whatever. But now when I come back and I'm underneath of the rock, there's stability being under this rock. There's like I can lean on the rock. The coolness of the rock. If I got stuck in the woods, this would be a great place to lay against the rock. And there's like a little cove there that you could lay your back against it, and the coolness of the rock would protect you. And again, sometimes the way that words are written, we get a certain idea and we tend to run with that idea, because we were taught that one particular idea. And if we think about Jesus, we were taught that Jesus was a carpenter. And we were taught that when we think of the word carpenter, we think of working with wood. We think of him with a hammer and putting together like a wagon with a cart or something and building with wood. But the reality is, in Jerusalem, what was more prominent at the time were people that dealt with stones, with rocks. And Jesus was really more like a stone, person that dealt with stone, built with stone. Like the houses of Jerusalem were built with stone, and the little cottages were built with stone. And if they were building a building, they built with stone. So Jesus was really more of a stone craftsman than he was a carpenter, okay? And this is important again and again, as I give you the perspective, there's all these clusters of rocks that are within that area. But then you have that main covering. And when Jesus said that he was the rock, again, he was telling Peter, the leader, Simon, who was then labeled Peter, he labeled him the leader of the 12 disciples, and Peter was then given the nickname of the rock. Now, the point is, Jesus, Yeshua, is the rock. He's the rock. But he was giving the responsibility of the leadership of Simon Peter to be that covering over the disciples, to be that rock, to be the strong person that leads. And most certainly, if you've seen The Chosen, the character that plays Simon Peter is a great representation of being the rock, being someone that is like strong in setting boundaries, gathering people together, getting people organized, moving them forward, saying this is where we're at right now and we're all going to go to bed now. Like stop arguing. We're going to sort it out in the morning. Like there has to be someone that is the leader. There has to be someone that takes the responsibility and says, this is the way that we're going. It doesn't mean that Simon Peter was better than anybody else. It doesn't mean that. It means that his skills for leading people was why Jesus, Yeshua, chose Simon Peter to lead, because he had the ability to cultivate those leadership skills. And it doesn't mean he had it right away. He probably didn't. And most of the people that were the disciples at the time were like in their late teens, early 20s. It's not like they were evolved 40 or 50-year-olds. They were young men that were still figuring out. And many of them were clueless. just like many of us are. So the point that I'm making is that Jesus, Yeshua, is the rock. And when we put him in his proper place in our life, and we see him as the foundation, we see him as the structure, we build our life on the rock, we build our life on Yeshua, we build our family unit on the Torah, on the Bible. We build our relationships on understanding the relationships that are explained in the Bible and why some of them worked and why some of them didn't, so that we can learn and grow and not make the same mistakes. And at the same time, building a foundation, like when you're building a house, if you build a house on sand, the house is going to fall apart. But if you build the house on rock, on a good solid foundation, you're going to have more stability to withstand the storm, to withstand the obstacles that are going to come, because the obstacles are going to come. And right now, again, I'm going to span this trail, and there's a portion where there's all these rocks, into the dirt. And again, there's a certain structural foundation when the trail has a foundation of rock. There's a certain level of stability. And then you have the dirt. And with the dirt, you're not having the same stability as when there's the rock plus the dirt. So again, it's a metaphor, it's a visual to illustrate this point that you can either build your house on sand and leaves, or you can build your house on the foundation of rock. And when you choose to build your foundation on rock, and Jesus, Yeshua, as that rock, and you invite him into your heart, and the Holy Spirit comes to live and dwell in your heart, there is going to be a clearing out of, number one, your stony heart, what doesn't work, and what you need to let go of, so that you can allow more compassion and love and patience and forgiveness to flow through you. And it's not the snap of the fingers and you just get it. Like, it's a process and it takes time, and that's why they call it regeneration. It takes time to become more like the Messiah. It's a shifting, it's a seasoning, it's a learning, it's a practicum, it's putting things into practice, it's applying what you've learned. And in order to get to that level of mastery, you have to start as a student. And sometimes some of the things that we're asked to do are hard, and they seem so opposite of how we are right now, and we think, how can I ever achieve that? But that's where we have to lean on the rock. We have to lean on the fact that Jesus has already done it. Yeshua is the Messiah. He has conquered death. He is the epitome of life. He lived a perfect life. And he lived a life of setting boundaries, of honoring God his Father, and being in total obedience. He conquered all the problems that Adam and Eve were not able to. And he gives us life. And it's a choice. So I invite you into that choice, to choose the Messiah, choose the rock. Have a good one, everybody.